So, today I will be talking about what is masculinity and what are its four main virtues. These concepts have been taken from the book The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. We will also be checking out this beautiful route that goes through the jungles of Dehradun. So, let us begin. Vir is the Latin word for man. The word virtue comes from the Latin virtus. To the early Romans, virtus meant manliness, and manliness meant martial valor. Demonstrating virtus meant showing strength and courage and loyalty to the tribe while attacking or defending against the enemies of Rome. As the Romans became more successful and their civilization became more complex, it was no longer necessary for all men to hunt or fight. The fighting happened at the edge of the perimeter, and the fighting edge of Roman civilization moved outward. For men deep inside the circle, manliness became increasingly metaphorical. Men who did other work could satisfy their need to be seen as men among men by fighting metaphorically, showing social courage, mastering their desires, and behaving ethically. The meaning of the word virtus and the Roman idea of manliness expanded to include values that were not merely survival virtues but also civic and moral virtues. Definitions of manliness expand to include other virtues as civilizations grow. However, these other virtues are less specific to men than the fighting virtues, and they vary more from culture to culture. Civilized virtue is about being a good person, a good citizen, a good member of a particular society. Manly virtues should be virtues directly related to manhood. The virtues that men all over the world recognize as manly virtues are the fighting virtues. Epics and action movies translate well because they appeal to something basic to the male condition, a desire to struggle and win, to fight for something, to fight for survival, to demonstrate your worthiness to other men. The virtues associated specifically with being a man outline a rugged philosophy of living, a way to be that is also a strategy for prevailing in dire and dangerous times. If you are fighting to stay alive and you are surrounded by potential threats, what do you need from the men fighting with you? If eating means facing danger together, who do you want to take with you? What virtues do you need to cultivate in yourself and the men around you to be successful at the job of hunting and fighting? When your life and the lives of people who you care about depend on it, you'll need the men around you to be as strong as they can be. Living without the aid of advanced technology requires strong backs and elbow grease. You'll need strong men to fight off other strong men. You won't want the men in your gang to be reckless, but you'll need them to be courageous when it matters. A man who runs when the group needs him to fight could put all of your lives in jeopardy. You'll want men who are competent, who can get the job done. Who wants to be surrounded by morons and fuck-ups? The men who hunt and fight will have to demonstrate mastery of the skills your group uses to hunt and fight. A little inventiveness couldn't hurt either. You'll also need your men to commit. You will want to know that the men beside you are us and not them. You'll need to be able to count on them in times of crisis. You want guys who have your back. Men who don't care about what the other men think of them aren't dependable or trustworthy. If you're smart, you will want the other men to prove they are committed to the team. You'll want them to show that they care about their reputation within the gang, and you'll want them to show that they care about your gang's reputation with other gangs. In his book The Way of Men, Jack Donovan states that there are four primary virtues of masculinity that all cultures and tribes hold in high esteem across the world. And these are strength, courage, mastery, and honor. These are the practical virtues of men who must rely on one another in a worst case scenario. These four are simple, functional virtues. They are the virtues of men who must answer to their brothers first, whether their brothers are good or unscrupulous men. These tactical virtues point to triumph. They are amoral but not immoral. Their morality is primal and it lives in a closed circle. The tactical virtues are unconcerned with abstract moral questions of universal right or wrong. What is right is what wins, and what is wrong is what loses, because losing is death and the end of everything that matters. Strength, courage, mastery, and honor are the virtues that protect the parameter. They are the virtues that save us. These are the virtues that men need to protect their interest, but also the virtues they must develop to go after what they want. They are the virtues of the defender and the attacker. Strength, courage, mastery, and honor belong to no one God. though many gods claim them. Whatever men fight for, strength, courage, mastery, and honor are what they must demand of each other if they are going to win. These four are the alpha virtues of men all over the world. They are the fundamental virtues of men because without them, no higher virtues can be entertained. You need to be alive to philosophize. You can add to these virtues and you can create rules and moral codes to govern them. But if you remove them from the equation altogether, you aren't just leaving behind the virtues that are specific to men, you're abandoning the virtues that make civilization possible. The men who are strong, courageous, competent, and loyal will be respected and honored as valuable members of Team Us. Men who are exceptionally weak or fearful can't be counted on. Men who are inept in some important way must either find a way to compensate, and they will try if they are loyal and honorable, if they want to help with the hunting and fighting, or find other work to do in the tribe. A man of questionable loyalty who doesn't seem to care what the other men think of him or how their tribe is perceived will not be trusted by the hunting and fighting gang. Men who are not up to the job of fulfilling the first role of men for one or all of these reasons will be pushed out of the hunting and fighting group and sent to work with the women, the children, the sick, and the elderly. Men have different drives, aptitudes, and temperaments. Most men have the ability to adapt to the hunting and fighting role, to live at the edge of the parameter, but some men won't be able to cut it. They will be regarded as less manly and thought of as lesser men. Some men are going to get their feelings hurt. That's not fair, but fairness is a luxury that men can ill afford in dire times. Men who want to avoid being rejected by the gang will work hard and compete with each other to gain the respect of the male gang. Men who are stronger, more courageous, and more competent by nature will compete with each other for higher status within that group. As long as there is something to be gained by achieving a higher position within the gang, whether it is greater control, greater access to resources, or just peer esteem and the comfort of being higher in the hierarchy than the guys at the bottom, men will compete against each other for a higher position. However, because humans are cooperative hunters, the party gang principle scales down to the individual level. Just as groups of men will compete against each other but unite if they believe more can be gained through cooperation, individual men will compete within a gang when there is no major external threat, but then put aside their differences for the good of the group. Men aren't wired to fight or cooperate, they are wired to fight and cooperate. Understanding this ability to perceive and prioritize different levels of conflict is essential to understanding the way of men and the four tactical virtues. Men will constantly shift gears from in-group competition to competition between groups or competition against an external threat. It is good to be stronger than other men within your gang, but it is also important for your gang to be stronger than another gang. Men will challenge their comrades and test each other's courage, but in many ways this intra-group challenging prepares men to face inter-group competition. Just as it is important for men to show their peers they won't be pushed around. The survival of a group can depend on whether or not they are willing to push back against other groups to protect their own interests. Men love to show off new skills and find ways to best their pals, but mastery of many of the same skills will be crucial in battles with nature and other men. The sports and games men play most demand the kind of strategic thinking or physical virtuosity that would be required in a survival struggle. A man's reputation may keep men in his group from messing with him, and a group's reputation may make its enemies think twice about creating animosity. Sociologists and street gang experts typically write about an excessive concern with reputation or a desire to avenge disses with confused, haughty contempt. But the truth is that men have behaved this way for most of human history, and the strategic reasons why should be obvious to anyone who doesn't feel he can rely on police protection. If no one is coming to save you, you'd better be tough or look tough, and you'll probably want some tough guys ready and willing to get your back. I have no idea how people manage to be confused about something that simple and obvious, but I'm pretty sure our ancestors would have killed them and taken their stuff. Now we are going to elaborate on what we mean by strength, courage, mastery, and honor. So number one is strength. Strength is an integral part of being a man. It's one of the most fundamental biological differences between us and women. Without strength, nothing else really matters. Without strength, there would be no civilization. The way of men is to be strong. The benefits of civilization that we enjoy exist merely because the men before us were strong. They were physically strong. They were able to wield an axe, a spear, or a club and defend their territory. Had it not been for their strength, we would not exist. Strength can refer to inner strength. However, without outer strength, it is useless. The best way to cultivate inner strength is by first cultivating outer strength. Your body is a manifestation of your mind. Developing physical strength will in turn make you mentally strong, and both of these will give your life a sense of meaning. Perhaps this is why so many men work out nowadays. They realize that physical strength is one of the few things that separates them from women anymore. But don't be like them though. Don't work out in a futile attempt to quell your insecurities. So how do you develop strength? Find a good workout routine, stick to it, and become stronger because it will make you a better man. Your physical strength will bleed into other areas of your life. You will have strength in your romantic relationships, strength in your friendships, and strength in accomplishing your personal goals. Having the strength to lift 500 pounds off the ground is no small feat. It takes discipline, it takes focus, and it takes a certain mindset. It takes strength of body and strength of mind. When you push yourself day after day to develop your masculinity more than before, you will also develop a very deep sense of self-love and purpose. What was hazy before will now become clear, and you will become acutely aware of what you value and what you don't. This is what the journey does to you. The journey towards developing outer strength will clarify your inner values, and the lessons that you learn along the way will guide you for your entire life. Second virtue is courage. Without courage, strength would not matter. What good is the strength of 10,000 men if you lack the courage to use it? Courage is what motivates you to act in the face of adversity. It's the driving force that protected civilization for thousands of years. The way of men is to be courageous. Courage used to take the form of facing death. Courage used to mean being man enough to charge into battle despite your fear and conquer your enemies. It used to mean fighting against threats to your family and your group, slaying a great beast that could easily impale you with its tusk or devour you with its teeth. We don't have these threats anymore. We live in the comfort of civilization because men before us overcame these threats. Our masculinity has dwindled because of this. I see men too afraid to talk to girls, too afraid to ask for a job, and too afraid to pursue a better life. My God, what have we come to? Now, courage takes a different form, a much more subtle form. Now, courage is standing up against social pressure and speaking your mind. It's moving to a new location to follow your dreams, even if you're unsure of what may happen. And it's daring to admit to yourself that you can do better and making the effort to change. Despite the fact that courage takes a different form now than it did for our ancestors, men can still gain a sense of masculinity and purpose by conquering fear and developing courage. Courage cannot be developed by sitting at home reading about it. It must be developed in the ring. Only the man who acts develops courage. No amount of thinking will do so. Maybe you are afraid of leaving your girlfriend because you don't know if you could get another girl as attractive as her. So you stay in a relationship that you dislike out of fear. Or maybe you haven't had sex in ages, but you are afraid to go out and try to meet women and start new relationships. I understand that fear can be difficult to overcome. However, you must realize that nothing will change unless you have the courage to act. Once you start to take action and conquer your fears, it will become an addiction. You will realize that you have the power to change your life, and courage will become your ally rather than fear being your enemy. Maybe you choose to break up with your girlfriend because she plays petty games and brings you down. It will be painful at first. Maybe you'll go for days, weeks, or even months without having sex. But this small act of courage will push you to the next level. It will develop your masculinity. And as you refuse to put up with nonsense in your sexual life, soon it will spread into all other areas of your life. When a man develops courage in one area of his life, it spreads into all others. This is a good thing. And it's why developing character is so important in today's modern culture and modern world. Soon, you won't take nonsense in your financial life. You'll have the courage to stand up to your boss if he gives you an unfair deadline or goes back on his word. You'll have the courage to leave old friends behind if they're holding you back. You'll have the courage to admit to yourself that you need to change, and you'll change. It all starts with that one small step. One small act of courage will make bigger and more challenging acts of courage seem easier until you find yourself living a life you never dreamt was possible. This is the power of having courage. Third virtue is mastery. Mastery was crucial for the survival of the tribe. If a man could not master the craft of hunting, or if a man could not use a spear with brutal strength, yet deft gracefulness, his loved ones would not survive. The way of men is mastery. Mastery takes many different forms. It can be the mastery of hunting, of wielding a sword and shield, or it can be mastery of computer programming, repairing cars, or self-mastery. But the common theme is that a man must take pride in his skills and hone them. Mastery is perhaps the easiest of the three characteristics to practice today. Why do you think that men have hobbies? Men have hobbies because they provide us with an opportunity to push ourselves, to improve, to struggle, to develop our masculinity, and to master a skill. The act of attaining mastery at any craft, whether it be playing the guitar, blogging, acting, or hunting, is very rewarding to man. I encourage you to look at your life and ask yourself, am I using my skills to the utmost of my ability? If you like to cook, do you always improve this craft? Do you constantly look for new spices, recipes, and styles of cooking to incorporate into your art? If you are an EMT, are you constantly improving your medical knowledge? Are you striving to become a paramedic? It is important for man to master his skills. Once he stops improving, he might as well be dead. This is perhaps the single largest source of existential angst in modern day society. When men stop growing, they experience severe crisis. Men have stopped growing. They have become content with working an average job, getting an average home, and having an average wife. Then to numb their pain, they watch 4 hours of television every day and drown their senses in high fructose, corn syrup, and processed foods. As Friedrich Nietzsche so eloquently puts it, a fundamental part of living is to expand your skills. This is the will to power he refers to so much. And the fourth virtue is honor. Honor is perhaps the most elusive and ever-changing trait of the four, and to complicate matters, it has a whole host of different meanings depending on the culture or social standing of those you ask. So I'm going to do my best to simplify it. Honor means that you care about other men's opinions of you, and that you hold yourself to certain standards. Honor means you keep your word, you live true to your values, and you always do what you feel is right. Men wanted the other men in the group to respect them. They wanted to be seen as an asset. They wanted to do their part. This is why when a society stops valuing honor, it begins to crumble. If a society doesn't honor men who have sacrificed their lives, who have made difficult decisions, and who have worked to help others, what motivation is there to do so? This is perhaps why honor is so rare nowadays. Our society glorifies celebrities and worthless socialites while allowing veterans to become homeless and ignoring the men who have braved fires and crumbling buildings to save others. Despite the difficulty to develop honor, however, you must do so if you wish to be fulfilled. Men are biologically hardwired to crave honor. We want to be honored and respected by our peers, our friends, and our family members. Fortunately, Jack Donovan gives some great advice on how to go about attaining honor in today's aggression-free, risk-free world. It starts by building a group of like-minded men, a group of men who can help you to achieve your goals and push yourself to higher heights every day. So that's it for today, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.